Hello, Eric Walczykowski here, host of Tailored Talent, CEO of Bespoke Partners. Today, I'm joined by my go-to-market lead, Tess Fischer. Tess, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Eric. Great to be here.
Hey, before we get cracking, you got somebody in the background. Who's our special guest today?
This is my office mate. His name is Spike. He's about a 1.5-year-old rescue. He's my son's cat, but he hangs out with me all day.
Cool. What does he know about go-to-market searches?
He knows everything. He listens to every update call. He has opinions about candidates. He's my secret trick.
Super cool. Well, hopefully we have him under an NDA.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, if we look back at the last couple of years of go-to-market searches, I mean, your practice has been kind of the steady Eddie, significant growth year after year. And I think we all know that the reason why. I mean, there's two, right? I mean, value creation, go-to-market is part of every thesis and story because you got to grow businesses to sell them for a profit. And then the second thing is go-to-market leaders turn over at a faster rate than any other role. And I think, 18 months is what we're tracking. But as we head into this season where private equity volume is going to pick up in terms of new platforms, what are you anticipating out of the go-to-market function?
Yeah, I think we'll see it pick up as well. There's two different trends that we're seeing. One, companies are at a spot where they're thinking about exiting. And so they're looking across the executive team, and maybe the CRO that they hired 18 months ago is not going to be the person that's going to get them through an exit. Maybe they were more focused on the turnaround aspect. And so we're seeing a little bit of leveling up in terms of who do we need on the go-to-market side around the table in order to make a successful exit the next 12 to 18 months. And two, the market is just tightening because candidates are staying for that exit. So we're seeing a lot less available candidates, which just makes the overall market a lot tighter.
No doubt. And let's come back to the market tightening in a minute, but let's really hone in on this leveling up notion. So I see an exit, let's call it 12 to 18 months on the horizon. What particular roles and skill sets am I looking for out of that leveling up exercise?
Yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of sales leaders and marketing leaders and customer leaders were hired to really come in and fix an issue. And they needed to get down in the weeds with the team. They needed to refocus on metrics and forecasting. And it was a little bit of a back to basics play. I just need someone, maniacally focused on the function and executing in tandem with the team. And now they're starting to think about somebody that can be more commercial facing, somebody that can go to the, investment meetings and sit side by side with the CEO and really be a selling person for that company in an exit process.
No doubt. And I think one of the keys to that is if you took a company from, let's call it 150 to 250 in this whole period, you're looking to exit in 12 to 18 months. It's really who's that commercial leader that potentially could span the gap and run the next hold period as the go-to-market leader. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Have an attractive leader that sells the company and potentially is there for the next turn. That's always most attractive to the buyers.
No, fantastic. You mentioned the tight talent market. Tell me a little bit more about what you mean by a tighter talent market than we're used to. And we always operate in a really tight talent market, but what particularly is causing that right now?
Yeah, so as I alluded to earlier, one, a lot of candidates are starting to stay put, whereas over the past year or so, we could encourage candidates to take a look at a new opportunity because there was a lack of exits. There's still not as many exits as we're used to seeing, but candidates are now starting to, in their current organizations, if they see an exit on the 12-month horizon, they're going to stick with it. Candidates want to go through a successful exit in a PE-backed environment to be able to do that again and again. And so it's a lot harder to dislodge good talent if their company's, has an exit timeline and horizon. And
go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I was going to say the second thing that we're seeing, which, we tell every client this, but they are really all after the same candidate profile. There's a lot more conservative approach to hiring today that we're seeing in go-to-market. They want someone that's seen the scale, that knows the end market, that knows the selling motion, that knows the ICP, that has reported to the CEO, that understands working with private equity. Oh, and by the way, they need to be in Ohio or something along those lines. So it's just a really small pool. And therefore, there's a lot less candidates. They're a lot less open to step-ups. We've seen the percentage of step-ups hired drop by 5% in the past 12 months, which I think is significant and just shows to the need to hire somebody or the desire to hire somebody that's seen the movie before. There's a lot less on-the-job training. There's less risk in hiring a proven.
And so when we look at this, to paint the picture in broad strokes, we've got the demand side, folks looking to level up before an exit, plus new platforms, which is a new event because we have not been inundated with new platforms in the last 24 months. So demand is at a high, or actually it's going to get hotter, as you and I both know, over the next 6 months.
Right.
Supply is at an all-time low because those exits now are only 12 months away. And so it's hard to dislodge. And then on top of that, PE firms are being more conservative, and we're seeing a drop in step-ups, which a lot of times has been the answer to, hey, if I've got a tough spec, we try to find that person who's on the rise. So talk to me about how can we navigate this successfully in this market?
It's the $1 million question, Eric. And the
So you
reason
can pay the big bucks, so I'm looking for the answer.
and it's honestly the reason that a lot of our clients are starting to hire firms again. I think there was an appetite to see if internal talent teams could run these searches or if they could utilize their network and somehow find an easy answer. And that's not the case. And so we're very busy, which is a good thing. But we talk to the clients a lot about being one putt away in the scorecard. We all want the unicorn. We all want to check every single box, but how do we get creative? And a lot of that is, really pushing the envelope and bringing a wide variety of candidates to the table so that our clients can pressure test the different elements. So there's a little bit of negotiation that happens and really keeping an open mind as we navigate the talent market. We also track internally here at Bespoke the exit timeline activity of candidates. We know this market inside and out and all of the people in it. And so we are constantly playing the timing game where a lot of our searches are moving quickly. And I'm talking 37 days or so. It's because timing is right. Somebody's leaving and we can scoop them up. And we know that timing really from a vaccine perspective, so we can be first to the table. The final thing that I would say is, as you know, Bespoke's recently launched our executive index, which is a tool that really looks at the market from a top-down perspective. So I think a lot of executive search and PE firms are still leaning on who they know, who's in their immediate network. And again, that works well a lot of times, but we really created the tool, the executive index, to look at the market from a top-down perspective, where we have over 700,000 software executives mapped in the US. So it's all about who you don't know and how do we get a good combination of those two to really find the right person. In fact, you'll be glad to hear Go-to-Market had an offer signed yesterday for a GM that came from the executive index. So really exciting times.
No, fantastic. Well, I think, just to sum up, if I were looking at navigating this uber tight talent market, the first thing I've got to do is I've got to make sure that every possibility is accounted for. Yeah. And as far as I know, we're the only firm that's mapped the entire market. So we've got 700,000 people. The next thing I want an expert in software go-to-market. And so when I think about you and your team, I think you guys did over 100 go-to-market searches in the last 12 months in scaled private equity-backed software businesses. There's not another team in the world that's done that. So you know the market better than everybody else. And then I got to think about a tight process, which I think we're really good at, which starts with the scorecard. What are the must-haves? What are the nice-to-haves? I love your golf analogy on one putt away. So how do you get that going? And then within the process, you've got to have the credibility to get the executives on the phone. So we start with the index. We identify all the executives. We've got this unbelievable team that are experts. And I think our conversion rate's like 82% of getting executives on the phone to consider. And so in this tight market, I don't know why you would consider anybody else, because people don't have the track record, the skills that we have.
Absolutely. And I'd also just put a plug in for back channeling. It still can make or break who you're going to hire, and where you are looking for, or where you might see some inherent risk. Our back channeling early and often, helps our clients feel better about making the hires.
No doubt. So I think as we look and turn to new platform starts and where this is going, what roles do you see in demand right now?
It's really interesting. There has been this, what I call like a breaking up of the go-to-market function. So 12 to 18 months ago, we were hiring, heavy hitting CROs or presidents that had all of go-to-market, including marketing and renewals, in addition to net new and bookings. And there's been this breaking up, which is in a large part why we're also really busy, because most of our clients want a chief sales officer. It's someone that's going to come in, really clean up the team, the dedication to metrics and forecasting, and focus on net new. Net new is still king in terms of organic growth. And so there's a big focus on hiring a chief sales officer. Then that opens up room for a chief marketing officer, somebody that's really going to partner closely with the chief sales officer and really work on the funnel in demand gen. We're seeing a little bit more focus on product marketing and branding as important attributes, as again, companies think about how they position to exit in a competitive market. And then the chief customer officer, still alive and well. We're seeing renewals and account management, more of a focus for a chief customer officer. Again, less one person being responsible for all of revenue and breaking up the go-to-market to drive, accountability in a function as opposed to multi-functions, which can be a distraction, to drive that cross collaboration amongst the leaders and somewhat of a healthy tension, if you will, in terms of working with your partners. and then just having everyone really focused and running together, and reporting up through the CEO, driving that accountability and credibility.
So I think the headline here is go-to-market is now looking for multiple leaders as opposed to what happened 18 months ago where folks were trying to consolidate under a CRO. And I think it gets back to why you need to work with an expert in the space, because your team has seen so many of these deals. These aren't just buzzwords to you. You're understanding exactly what's going on and why it's happening. And so you can help the private equity firm and the portfolio company structure the function, which I think is critical out of a search partner. Given the tight market, what are you seeing in terms of compensation?
Ooh, everybody wants compensation to come down, and it is doing nothing but going up. And again, back to high demand, low supply, we're seeing crazy things in terms of sign-on bonuses, retention plays, guarantees and equity. We're still seeing, not frequently, but it does happen. We just had, and this is for a scaled business, but we just had our first $1 million cash offer go out for a CRO this year. It had a huge retention bonus. It's a sign-on that's built as a retention, but we're really seeing our clients stretch to get that top talent.
Well, that $1 million, that's CEO territory, as we all know.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, I think that this again gets back to when you think about the thesis of private equity, doing things in a cost-effective manner. And so my experience, your experience is folks don't want to overpay. And again, I come back to having a partner that really knows the market and knows the levers that you can pull to be successful in this tight market, but yet not grossly overpay. Because if you grossly overpay, that damages part of your investment thesis and the return you can ultimately achieve.
Yeah, and it's really a conversation that we're having with CEOs and with the private equity firms, just in terms of we've got multiple levers in our compensation models and packages. And so how can we get creative, and how do we educate public company executives? We're actually recruiting a lot of sales leaders out of public companies, but with that takes just a ton of education very early on with candidates. You're not going to compare apples to apples, but how can we really partner with our clients to then educate the candidates? To your point, we're not going to throw all of the money at them, but we can talk through how the private equity models and how equity is structured and really get into the nitty gritty with our candidates to help them see the upside in joining an opportunity like our clients.
Outstanding. Well, Tess, congratulations on another phenomenal year, and excited to have you leading the go-to-market practice, because I think you're making a true difference for our clients, and just appreciate your leadership. Appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Eric. We have a lot of fun and always appreciate our chats.
Well, have an amazing day.
Thanks, you too.